Welcome. I am Sharon Ali, your anchor for Podium Broadcasting Network Gospel News. Our top story starts with news from the United Kingdom. Christian campaigners demand stricter gambling laws. 51% of Christians see missions as a calling, not a mandate. UK churches condemn anti-boycotting bill. And our international headlines are the Ukrainian army chaplain who is praying for Russian families. Our first story, Christian campaigners demand stricter gambling laws. A Christian social policy charity has warned that the United Kingdom government is failing the most vulnerable by consistently delaying action to tighten the country's gambling laws. CARE has challenged ministers on the issue after new statistics show online betting has reached its highest rate ever in the UK, with 1 in 4 people making wagers. Now that is very high. The most popular form of online gambling was sports betting, in particular football, outside of the National Lottery and other lotteries. The survey by the Gambling Commission asked respondents about gambling on 4 occasions between June 2021 and March 2022. It showed 43% had gambled in the previous 4 weeks, which is a decrease from the pre-pandemic participation rates of 47% in March 2020. However, the research published on Tuesday also revealed that young Brits are most affected. Around 35% of 16 to 24-year-olds surveyed said they have gambled in the past 4 weeks, which is an increase of 5%. Ross Henry, CEO of CARE, said these statistics provide yet more evidence of the grip the gambling industry has on our society and should reanimate debate about the resultant dangers. For most people, gambling is a bit of fun, but for a significant and growing minority, it is a gateway to an addiction that ruins lives, families, and communities. The data also reveals that more 55 to 64-year-olds are gambling, and they are also the group with the highest increase in online gambling. Meanwhile, in-person gambling rates have increased again by 3% from last year. This signifies signs of recovery since the pandemic. Analysis of the data by the UK Addiction Treatment Group UCAT said that the rate of those in the moderate risk of addiction category has gone up. Women at moderate risk of addiction increased from 0.4% in March 2021 to 0.9% this year. Henry added the situation is made far worse by our outdated gambling laws, which are not fit for purpose, having been drafted before the proliferation of online betting and advertising across various media. Ministers know the gravity of the situation and the need to bring stricter regulation, yet they have delayed a white paper on reform. People are suffering acutely and will go on suffering until the government brings proper regulation that is fit for the 21st century. We urge them to do so now. The government is developing a white paper on the issue. PBN Gospel News encourages our viewers to speak out in support of updated legislation for the issues surrounding gambling, in particular for young people. Our next story is on the calling of God. 51% of Christians see missions as a calling, not a mandate. That's according to a new survey by Banner Group conducted on 2,000 practicing Christians. The group defines practicing Christians as those who have attended church within the past month and strongly agree their faith is very important to their life. The survey also showed a difference in the perception of missions between pastors and lay people. At least 85% of pastors believe missions is a mandate for all Christians, while only 46% of Christians agree with that statement. For Naomi Steinberg from Church Mission Society, this research presents an opportunity to bring some clarity around mission. One of the things that's encouraging in the research is how many pastors responded affirmatively that mission should be a lot about having local people in local regions doing missions. I do think that what that research does present is that there's huge scope for opportunity to demythologize mission and a lot of ways and to really help people in their understanding of mission. She continued, the Banner poll also showed differences in what matters most in missions and what it should accomplish. For 88% of those pastors surveyed, equipping local leaders to preach the gospel is more important than short-term missions, while only 46% of Christians agreed with that statement. In 2018, Banner Group conducted another survey which suggested at least 51% of Christians were not aware of the Great Commission, term often used to refer to Matthew chapter 28 verses 18 to 20, in which Jesus calls Christians to go and make disciples of all nations. Our next story is again in the UK. UK churches condemn anti-boycotting bill. A bill banning public bodies from boycotting foreign policy investment decisions made by the UK government has been widely condemned by a number of church denominations. The Methodist Church, Quakers in Britain, and the United Reformed Church have spoken out against the proposed legislation. The bill would mean local authorities and councils would be unable to make their own choices regarding investment and procurement, and would have to follow foreign policy legislation. Signatories to the statement, who include Greenpeace and Friends of the Earth, say that the new law would stop the use of the tactics that helped liberate South Africa from apartheid, stifling campaigns from fossil fuel divestment to arms embargoes. Oliver Robertson, head of Witness and Worship at Quakers in Britain, said this bill would limit the ability of public bodies to be able to make an investment decision that's contrary to what the UK government thinks. We think that restriction is wrong. The reason is we think that everybody, all organizations or groups, should be able to have the freedom to spend, to invest, to trade ethically and in line with their values and with international law. We think that by refusing to let public bodies like your local council do this, it's another sign of the government trying to limit dissent or difference of opinion in the political sphere, which is a key part of living in a broad and liberal society. It tells people what they can and cannot do, and that the only right thing to do is what the current government of the day believes. It also goes a long way towards saying that different viewpoints and different values are not okay and not acceptable. As we know, there's often been a place for people of faith to stand up against injustice, to stand up against things that are wrong, and to say that the way the world is wrong and is not the way it should be. So to limit our ability to do that, I think, is seen as a big danger and something that's fundamentally at odds with the society we want to be. We will be back after this very short break.
For our Nugget segment at 9 a.m. from Monday to Friday for compact revelation, short pitch statements with deep meaning. Coming to you at 1 p.m. daily, the PBN Midday segment. PBN is now on TikTok. Check us out at pbn.tv, clipped preachings with compact revelation.
Welcome back to PBN Gospel International News, and we are heading straight into the Ukraine. The Ukrainian army chaplain, who is praying for Russian families in particular. A year ago, having just finished his training, Father Roman Mentok was excited to be assigned to work at the Garrison Church of St. Peter and St. Paul in Lviv, western Ukraine. But after 2 months of the war with Russia, he's emotionally drained and physically exhausted. This is a point of prayer Too often, as the army chaplain stands in front of the altar and looks out into the church, he sees the coffins of Ukrainian soldiers. The 27-year-old Catholic priest shares his grief at having to say Mass as often at funerals. Some of them are younger than himself. It's painful, he says. Of course it's painful. It's the hardest thing Father Mentuk admits. When you look at our heroes, our defenders who are now dead, it reminds us that we have war, massive war. The UK government estimates that 15,000 members of the Russian military have also died during the war. Father Mentuk says his main priority is to minister to the Ukrainian soldiers at the barracks in Lviv, army families and refugees from other parts of the country who have fled from the worst of the fighting. But in his prayers he includes the families of the Russians who have been killed in the war. He says, I understand that we cannot try to defeat evil with another evil, so I am also trying to pray for them and trying to pray for their families. The Church of St. Peter and St. Paul was full over Easter, and the priests added extra services so that all of the soldiers who wanted to attend Mass could have the opportunity. The army chaplain tells Premier News that the troops value the fact that prayers are being said for them. Our soldiers say to us that it's very important. They're feeling all our prayers. They understand that that day or any day in particular can be their last day. And this is Podium Broadcasting Network Gospel News. Remember to share the gospel news about Jesus every chance you get. Time is upon us. We remind viewers to share, like, or comment on the programs as well. Be educated, be inspired, be the evidence of Christ. Our source is Premier Christian News Today. Now, if you are inspired by the vision of PBN Gospel News, you can participate in the building of our upgraded facility by sowing. The local bank account with First Citizens Bank is 287-2426. International viewers can email us at pbntrinidad@gmail.com. Thanking you for viewing with us. I am Sharon Ali, Podium Broadcasting Network's Gospel News.